Written by Girish Karnad. Directed by Alec Padamsi. Courtesies. Outdoor publicity. Creation. LCD and TVs. LG Electronics. Set design. Bhola Sharma. Lighting design. Alec Padamsi. Yael Krishna. Music composition. Merlin D'Souza. Sound execution. Gautam Dhani. Executive producer. Craig DeQuartus. Production manager. Prathna Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, the play runs for an hour without an interval. We request you to please switch off your mobile phones. Raul Padamsi's Ace Productions presents Shabana Aazmi in Broken Images. Written by Girish Karnad. Directed by Alec Padamsi.
Raza, क्या बात है? Wow! But where is the camera? Huh? Oh, I see. New technology. Isn't it scary, the rate of obsolescence? Huh? Of course I have. In London and in New York. But when you think of Indian television studios, you always imagine them cluttered. Lots of men scurrying about, shouting orders. But here it's also, क्या कहते हैं उसे? Spartan. All right. No camera. I just look ahead and speak to an invisible audience in front of me. Direct. I can hear you. Clearly. Voice testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. Shall I tap on the mic? My speech will last exactly 6 minutes. I have timed it. No, I won't read. What? Look ahead and speak, but that might take a little longer. Just a couple of moments if I don't fumble too much. The yellow light. Okay, ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a proud moment for all of us at Edge TV channel. For we have with us in the studio renowned Hindi short story writer, Miss Manjula Sharma. What many of you may not know, that until a year ago, Miss Sharma was a lecturer in English. It's amazing how many of our Hindi writers have also been lecturers in English. From the earliest days, we have Shri Harivansh Rai Bachchan, V.D.N. Sahi, Ram Vilas Sharma, to the more modern Bhisham Sahani and Firakh Gorakhpuri. All of them competent in both languages, Hindi and English. About a year ago, Miss Manjula Sharma stunned the entire literary world by writing her first novel in English. The River Has No Memory made headlines worldwide. This evening, we telecast a Hindi telefilm based on this remarkable novel. We are proud to have in the studio with us Miss Manjula Sharma herself, who has graciously agreed to address our viewers about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the literary phenomenon of the decade, Miss Manjula Sharma.
Namaskar. I'm Manjula Sharma. I must mention that officially I'm Mrs. Manjula Tiwari, but my creative self continues to be Manjula Sharma. There are some areas in which we must not let marriage intrude too much. Talking about one's work is a very difficult task. So let me just take up 2 questions I constantly come across. First question, you have probably guessed it already. After having written in Hindi all your life, why did you choose suddenly to write in English? Do you see yourself as a Hindi writer or an English writer? What audience do you write for, and variations on that theme? Actually, let me confess, if I had foreseen how many people I would upset by writing in English, I really would not have committed that folly. Intellectuals whom I respected, writers who were gurus to me, friends who I thought would pat me on my back and share my delight, they're all suddenly breathing fire. Majal kaise hui? How dare she write in English and betray Hindi? Betray? The answer is simple. I wrote the book in English because it burst out in English. It surprised even me. I couldn't understand why it was all coming out in English, but it did. That's all. There is no other explanation. What baffles me, actually let me confess hurts me, is why our intellectuals can't grasp this simple fact. I have been accused of writing for foreign audiences, accused as though I had committed a crime. Bhai, a writer seeks audiences where she or he can find them. My British publisher said to me, "We like your book because it is so Indian." We receive any number of manuscripts from India, but they're all written with the Western reader in view. Your novel has the genuine Indian feel. Apple. But who listens here? Koi sunta hai kya? Recently, the president of the Central Sahitya Academy, who shall remain nameless, declared that Indians who write in English do so in order to make money. He, of course, spoke in English. Speaking in English, as you know, gives you the authority to make oracular pronouncements about Indian literature and languages. Let's face it. What is at issue here is not creativity, but money. What hits everyone in the eye is the amount of money a writer in English can earn. The advance I received for my novel, the advance only, mind you, helped me resign my job and concentrate on writing. Bura to lagega. Of course, it's a cause for jealousy. Having struggled in Hindi, I can understand that. A Hindi proverb says, a response is good, but a meaningful response is better. Meaningful, arthapurna. The Hindi word for meaning is arth, which also means fame, publicity, glamour. Let me leave it at that. The second question everyone asks is about the book itself. Thank God. How can you? You seem so strong and active. I used to be a long jump athlete in college, though of course, no Anju, Bobby, George. How can you so vividly recreate the emotional world of a person confined to bed all her life? How can a healthy outdoor woman be so, empathetic to the inner world of a disabled person? Well, it is sad. But I owe that to my younger sister Malini. She was physically challenged, suffered from what is technically called meningomyelocele. The upper part of her body was perfectly normal. Below the waist, her nervous system was damaged, completely dysfunctional. A series of operations which started soon after her birth reduced her existence to misery. She spent her entire life confined to the wheelchair. 6 years ago, my parents died and she came to live with us in Kamlanagar. During the last few months, it was quite clear she didn't have much time left. I am childless, and she became my child. Truly, this book is about her. I have dedicated it to her memory. She died last year, just a couple of months before the book came out. I have tried to relive what I learned about her emotional world as I nursed her, tended to her, watched helplessly as she floated into death. I miss her. I miss my beautiful, gentle sister. She is the only character taken from life. The rest of the characters and the plot is entirely fictional, totally invented. There is one person whose support I must acknowledge here. My husband, Pramode. I was working as a full-time lecturer then. College chores and home was full of her memories. And there was I suddenly writing in English, floundering, sinking. There were moments when I broke down, when I felt I just couldn't go on. But he was always there by my side, encouraging me, prodding me on. Without him, I really could not have completed the novel. Thank you, Pramode. Well, That is it. I have committed the cardinal sin of writing in English. There's no praschit for it, no absolution. But fortunately, the film you're about to see is in Hindi, which makes me very happy. After all, I'm a Hindi writer myself, born to the language and the civilization and proud of it. मुझे अपनी भाषा, अपनी संस्कृति पे गर्व है. The Hindi reality I conceived in English has been translated back into Hindi to perfection by the director. I could not have done a better job. My thanks to the cast and crew and of course HTV. Well, enjoy the telefilm. Namaskar. Good night. I hope that was all right. Huh? I didn't fumble too much, did I? Thank you, Raza. The pleasure is entirely mine. See you outside in just a bit, okay? Good. That will fix them. I've taken enough nonsense from them. Where are you going? You can't go yet, Manjula. Oh God, am I still on? You're not. The camera is off. Is it? Then, how? You were standing up. If the camera were on, I'd be standing up too. I'm not. Is this some kind of a trick? Hello? Hello, Raza? ये क्या हो रहा है? How come I'm still on the screen? Huh? Is there a technical hitch? Then how? Who are you? How? Has the tape got stuck? Help! Help! Raza! कहाँ हो आप? What are you screaming for? What are you afraid of? It's only me. Who are you? Me? You? That's absurd. Quite. A good speech, I must say. An excellent performance. The viewers loved it. All 2 million of them. But the film? Hasn't it started? What happened to the film? Oh, screw the film. It's awful anyway. Is it? I told them it won't work. A telefilm needs lots of movements, different locations, pace, action drama. A good novel doesn't necessarily make a good film. I argued, but they were persistent. Sponsors were easy to find. They paid well. Your performance now, this introduction, it was the best thing this evening. You'll be all over the papers. You've managed to upset a lot of people. Thanks. I meant to. If one had to comment, in the extreme case that one had to, that bit about your sister Malini, the tears, that could have been played down. I wasn't pretending. I loved her. I love her still. I don't think I've been as close to anyone else. It was a close bond. The novel doesn't really do her justice. She was attractive, more attractive than me. Intelligent, more intelligent than me, and vivacious, which I never was. I accepted that. She radiated life from the wheelchair to which she was confined. I have always been reconciled to being second best. Her illness was unfortunate, but because of it she got the best of everything. She never asked for anything. Soon after her birth, the moment the gravity of her situation was realized, my parents left Kanpur, moved to Delhi, took a house in Gurugram. She became, क्या कहते हैं उसे? The apple of their eye. when she was enough to go to school, a teacher came home to teach her English and mathematics. Baki sab usne khud hi padha. Everything else she read up for herself. History, philosophy, anatomy. She was hungry for life. Cobbled it all up, just.
And you?
I have often wondered whether I would have been as bright had I received all that love and...
No, you wouldn't. Let's face it.
I did write a bestseller.
That's true.
But you're right. I wouldn't. They left me with grandparents in Kanpur. An affectionate couple. They fussed over me, but no substitute for parents. When vacations approached, I could barely wait to get to Delhi. And once I finished college, I found a job in Delhi and came and lived with them. Those were the happiest days of my life. But then I met Pramode. We got married and settled down in Kamla Nagar. A father helped with the house. Bapuji ne madad to ki. But most of his money was left in her name. For her care. She was always the focus, naturally.
But when your parents died, why didn't you move into the Gurgaon house? Such a nice big house, the garden, the sense of space.
The Kamla Nagar house was my house. I was used to it. My college was in Kamla Nagar. We had selected a house which was within walking distance. Gurgaon would have meant a long trip every morning. And then, such a huge house, not easy to look after. I would have had to stay home all day like mother. Give up my job probably. No. Like I said, Malini was one of the most sensitive people I'd come across. She realized moving to Gurgaon would turn my life upside down. She insisted we sell the Gurgaon house. I was reluctant, but she wouldn't listen. She wanted no compromises on her account, no sacrifices. And she adjusted beautifully to the smaller house. To tell you the truth, I couldn't stand Gurgaon. Punjabis, all of them. And of course, all those empty houses bought as investments by NRIs. I fancied myself a Hindi writer those days, wanted to breathe the language, live in the heart of UP's culture.
Now that you're a success in English, have you bought a big bungalow in Gurgaon?
Oh, shut up.
Was Malini at home in Hindi?
Of course, it was our mother tongue. But she rarely used it. Her Hindi was limited to the cook and the maid.
So, Hindi was the one area that became yours.
I suppose so. I tried to occupy it and make it mine. Kuch to ho, jo mera apna ho. Actually, I've never said this publicly. But if you believe that a novel written in English cannot express the truth about India because we do not express ourselves in English, baapre, what a sentence. But if you believe that, then I will say I could not have written about my sister in Hindi. She laughed, breathed, dreamt in English. Her friends spoke only English. Having her in my house for 6 years helped improve my English. That is a fact I cannot deny.
So when are you going to write your next novel? Will it also be in English?
I think I've already answered that question. Why need I write another novel? Surely one is more than enough.
Critically and financially. But then what are you going to do? You've resigned your job. You are rich.
Not rich, just well-to-do.
Well-to-do. You have no sister to look after, an empty house, nothing you can use.
Are you trying to make me feel guilty? Are you implying I used her? It was my life as well, you know. I'm in the book too, although I would never confess to it publicly. Most readers find the girl's first cousin quite unattractive.
Eeks! That odious creature! Is that you?
Well, there you are.
A triumph of objective self-analysis, shall we say?
If you must. But I'm not that wicked, really. It was a narrative necessity to have a negative character. A matter of technique. The sympathetic heroine, the villain as counterpoint. That's all there was to it. Nothing more, nothing less.
But Pramode must be pleased with your portrayal of him. He comes across as not very good-looking or striking.
But not bad-looking either, huh? Good enough for
but
me.
an intelligent, warm and lovable person. Fun-loving, fond of practical jokes, noble and simple, almost simple-minded.
You can say that again. We met soon after I moved to Delhi. It was quite bizarre, actually. I had this friend called Lucy, a close friend. We worked in the same college. She taught French. She and I used to have our lunch together in this cafeteria every day. One day the place was jam-packed. There was only one tiny table empty in a corner with this young man occupying it. He sat there lost in a book. So we picked up 2 chairs and went and introduced ourselves. He practically fell off the chair. Then throughout the lunch, he sat there staring sideways at the gills, blushing and blushing. Standard response. That's how it started, with the 3 of us having lunch together in this cafeteria every day. He turned out to be one of those whiz kids working in the software office next door. He would come every day before the rush started, sit at the table, plunge deep in his thick book butt, waiting for us. You could sense that in his tense posture. And when we arrived, pretended to look surprised and then barely spoke. We teased him endlessly. He laughed and was quite tickled by our attention. He seemed quite unused to women, really. And one day he did something completely unexpected. He was attracted to me but didn't know how to convey it. So he wrote a letter to Lucy about me and wrote me a letter about Lucy. Then he mailed her letter in an envelope addressed to me and vice versa. So I received this letter addressed to Lucy, moaning and groaning about how I had tortured him, and I didn't even know he was attracted to me. And Lucy received the other letter. He thought he was being absolutely smart, totally original. We went and confronted him. Lucy tore her letter into bits, flung the pieces on him and walked off melodramatically. I felt sorry for him. I said, idiot. Every 15-year-old tries that trick, convinced it's never been done before. He blushed to the roots of his hair. That's all he knew how to do.
But you married him, so the ruse worked.
No ruse. He'd made such a fool of himself. He did the only thing he could to save his self-respect. He married me. I didn't mind.
Mind? You would never have found another man of his caliber.
I suppose so.
And what happened to Lucy?
She stopped talking to me. Women found him attractive.
Malini too.
Of course. She was a woman
They
after
were
all.
close to each other.
Very. You must remember, Malini wasn't exposed to men. There was Bapuji, not given to expressing much affection, and male teachers who floated in and out. Pramode entered her life like a storm and stayed center stage. He was, in fact,
And you didn't mind?
mine. Thank God for it. You see, he's in software development, works from home, and she was confined to the wheelchair. Can you imagine what would have happened if the 2 of them hadn't gotten on? He is basically a 2-woman man. I used to call him Kishan Kanhaiya.
He must be proud of you. That flattering portrayal of him in the novel. The moving acknowledgement in your speech today.
I doubt if he will even have heard of my speech ever.
Why? Is there a problem?
Who are you, for God's sake? Huh? Who are you? What gives you the right to interrogate me like this about my private life. Either you are me, in which case you know everything, or else you are an electric image, electronically and externally prying, in which case I really think I'm going to take...
What are you doing?
I'm going.
Don't go. Please. Look. You were saying? Aren't you going to talk to me?
Sorry guys, there's been a glitch. Bear with us. I can't carry on the play if there's no person talking to me. Had it. But I don't know how I got here. I didn't get here by choice. All I know that I am here, imprisoned, if you like, in this television frame, literally boxed. My existential situation, my angst, and I am here to talk to you. So, please cooperate. There was a time when critics would have said, I am your conscience. Like in the good old Hindi films, the hero reaches out for the money. Suddenly Shadow starts speaking. Don't. That money is meant for your father's medicine. Do you want to break your mother's heart? Or it could be his image in the mirror. But those simple days are gone. Today I would have to be your Freudian unconscious. Everything you censored. Repressed material, forbidden impulses, taboo recollections, dreams, a bad dream. Actually, I could be an interpretation of a bad dream. Sorry about that. Look, you asked who I am. Does anyone ever know who one is? It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? You are the English literature person. Hamlet started it all. To be or not to be. You should know. No use asking me. We could go back to Narcissus, of course. He loved his image, which is more than can be said about you. Say something. Please. Sorry. You are now an author of international standing. So perhaps we should analyze me in more Indian terms. Our myths, folklore, oral tales passed on by grandmothers, Indian archetypes. Sita. Yes, take Sita. As the other, there was a Mayavi Sita, an illusory Sita. According to some versions of the Ramayana, it was the illusory Sita that Ravan carried off. And then in later sections of the epic, Ram replaced the absent Sita with a golden image. It seems as though the men in the Ramayana never got to the real Sita. I'm trying to keep myself entertained. One must do something after all. If you're looking for entertainment, you can do better than being in a television studio. Think of it. Isn't it fortunate that I am your image and therefore outside you? I could be inside you, part of a multiple personality syndrome. Then we too would be struggling inside your body, trying to push each other down, attempting to be mutually exclusive. We would never get a chance to talk to each other like now. So, say something.
I've exhausted all the arguments I know. I am exhausted. I am nothing if you don't say anything. So, what do you want to know? What happened to you? You said Pramode may never hear of your excellent speech this evening, and I only asked why, and you just exploded. He lives in the States now. Oh, when did he go? Last year. He lives in Los Angeles now. Is in demand as a software wizard. Last year? So has he even read the novel? Bhai, the launching of the novel was a major media event in the US. After all, you must remember, it had proved to be a super hit in Britain. They called me all the way to New York for the release. There was much fanfare. He sent me an email of congratulations from Los Angeles. Apologized that he couldn't get leave to attend. And you didn't go to LA? Will you believe it? He didn't so much as hint at it. Of the events is beginning to confuse me. When did he go to LA? Was it after Malini's death? Yes. Immediately after? No, but soon after. How long after? Okay, let me explain. The offer from the American software company had been pending for a while, even when Malini was alive. In fact, she became quite agitated when it came. Although, of course, she was also happy. I knew he too was dragging his feet because of her. We knew she was dying. Then she died. Then I wrote the novel and sent it to a literary agent in England. Within a couple of weeks, we received an email from the agent accepting the novel for publication, mentioning the advance. That did it. Everything fell apart. Khata. Really? What happened? I suppose it was to be expected. Until that moment, I was essentially dependent on him. Emotionally, financially. He was the quiet breadwinner, the more successful partner, the pillar of the family. Suddenly, the rave response, the enormous advance. I had achieved a status he did not care for. So, his behavior took an odd turn. You know, मुझे बहुत सारे invitations आने लगे to cultural events, public functions, literary conferences, and so on. He had never attended these events before. He did now, which was fine. But one day, Lucy called. You remember my friend Lucy of the mixed up letters? The one who was in college with me? Bless you. I knew she was still unmarried and living on her own. She hadn't talked to me since that episode. She rang. Pramode had begun inviting her out in the evenings to dinner at expensive restaurants. Were they having an affair? No. I knew he wouldn't even make a pass at her. In fact, I wish he'd had a full-fledged affair with her, with anyone in fact. That might have eased the tension in the house. But he just isn't the roaming type. Too much a creature of habit. He just stopped. What about? Did he complain against you? Lucy said he didn't so much as mention me. Then? He told her jokes. He did what? He cracked jokes. Of course he talked of other things. But everything was honed to delivering the jokes he had carefully selected, polished, tabulated, and fitted into the larger narrative. Not smutty jokes then? No. Jokes about his work, about information technology, about Bill Gates, Infosys, Wipro, cyber jokes. And she said he was hilarious, had her in stitches. She enjoyed the evenings enormously. It was his inexhaustible gaiety that worried her. Did he tell me jokes too? She wanted to know.
I said, no. He may have in the early days of marriage, but not anymore. So she said, if it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother me. But if you don't mind, I would like to continue with the evenings. So please, don't question him. That was the last time I heard from her. Then he opened a new office for himself away from home. I had resigned my job, you see. We were both home all the time, which disturbed him, or he couldn't stand them. He started making remarks about the woodworks they had come out of, which annoyed me. His complaints multiplied. The maid didn't clean his office properly enough, or she was too thorough and he couldn't find anything he needed. The quality of food at home was deteriorating. Then one day he asked whether we can re-employ the nurse. The nurse? Yes. The one who had attended to Malini. Can she just come and go once a day, he asked. I was taken aback. Why? I asked. Malini is dead, and neither of us is ill. He stared at his toes and left the room without replying. I don't know if he had the nurse visit him in his new office.
He obviously missed Malini.
Yes.
So the collapse of your marriage may have nothing to do with your literary success.